The person who hurt you might look happy, smiling, posting photos, living like they did nothing wrong. But don't be fooled by appearances. Karma doesn't collect in noise, it collects in silence and sleepless nights. In this video, you'll discover 5 signs that they're already paying the price quietly, but surely. The bad ones may seem to be winning, but they're not. Have you ever seen someone who hurt you, betrayed you, or turned their back on you, only to resurface months later on social media, smiling brightly, seemingly glowing with happiness, and surrounded by a perfect new circle of friends? While you're still struggling with pain, they seem to be winning. But don't let the carefully curated photos and polished words fool you. Because the truth is, life doesn't collect its debts in public, it collects them in silence. Karma doesn't need noise, it doesn't show up as dramatic downfalls or sudden misfortunes. Instead, it quietly takes away what matters most: a genuine relationship, the trust of others, the opportunities they once took for granted. They may not notice it at first, but over time they begin to feel empty in those shallow connections, lacking any real emotional bond. They start losing trust, not only in others, but worse in themselves. They become guarded, withdrawn. They call it growing up, but in truth it's the fear of being hurt the same way they once hurt you. That's when karma begins to speak in the only language it knows: silence, heard only by them. Sometimes, karma doesn't answer with loss, it answers with a mirror. And in that mirror they meet someone just like themselves, charming, attractive, but also cold, inconsistent and untrustworthy. They fall into the same game they once played with you, waiting for messages, craving validation, aching from indifference. It's not punishment, it's reflection. You don't have to do anything. No revenge, no justifying, no proving that you're worthy of love. Your silence is the strongest response, because while they're still lost in the illusions they created, you are healing, growing, and moving forward. The bad ones may look like they're winning, but that's only the beginning of a quiet exchange they never saw coming. And when truth finally speaks, it doesn't shout. It arrives as a sigh in the night, an empty gaze when no one is watching, and a heart that no longer remembers what peace feels like. Sign number 1. They're overdoing the "I'm fine" act after hurting you, betraying your trust, or even walking away coldly without a word. You might expect they'd reflect on their actions, feel some regret, but instead, they reappear looking brighter than ever, smiling more, dressing stylishly, going out constantly, and most noticeably, posting a flood of photos on social media. At first you feel shaken. Could they really be happy after everything they did? Do they feel no guilt at all? Maybe I'm the one who's broken. Don't be fooled by the surface. This is one of the clearest signs that karma is quietly doing its job. They're desperately trying to prove they're okay, even better than ever. But that very effort reveals the chaos inside. True happiness doesn't scream for attention, only insecurity does. Those who are truly at peace don't need to declare it to the world. Those who are genuinely happy don't need filters or deep captions to prove it. But for those battling inner emptiness, social media becomes a stage, a script they perform. I'm fine. I've moved on. I'm thriving. They're the main character in a show made for one specific audience, you. They no longer speak to you, but still find subtle ways to ensure you accidentally see their joy. A photo at the cafe you both used to visit, a caption hinting at freedom and rebirth, a story paired with a song about healing. Sometimes even inspirational quotes as if they're fully healed. But take a closer look. The smile looks forced, the eyes seem lost, the energy feels rushed, like they're performing more than living. They're lying to themselves, not to you. They want you to believe they're okay. But more deeply, they want themselves to believe they're okay. Because if they admit they hurt someone who truly cared for them, if they face the truth that they pushed away someone who was patient with their flaws, they'd have to confront themselves, and they're not ready for that, so they craft a new version of themselves, happier, freer, more radiant. But this sudden transformation betrays the truth, because real healing doesn't need an audience. True peace doesn't ask to be witnessed. Only those in deep pain feel the need to show the world they've moved on. Common signs of pretending to be fine. Sudden and excessive presence on social media after a long silence, posting smiling, party-filled pictures even, if that's not their usual personality. Constantly sharing healing quotes, mantras about freedom, letting go, or success, jumping into a new relationship right after the breakup, and showcasing it publicly like a happiness campaign. That the issue isn't that they're living their life or seeing someone new, it's how rushed and performative it all is, trying to control how they're perceived. And the saddest truth of all, they might fool others, but they can't fool themselves. They know there's a void inside. They know they lost something valuable. They know that the laughter is fleeting, while the guilt waits patiently in the quiet of night to rise again. Karma doesn't need an announcement. It moves in silence. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the best revenge is to be unlike the one who caused you harm. The Stoic doesn't react. They don't stalk stories, post vague quotes, or beg for sympathy. They stay silent. They observe. They use their energy to heal, not to prove anything to anyone, because silence is the loudest voice of growth. Because karma doesn't need you to speak, it's already doing its work. Slowly, precisely, and deeply. A message for you. If the one who hurt you seems to be shining brighter than ever, don't let it break you. Remember, pretending to be strong is the clearest sign of inner weakness. Real joy doesn't need a spotlight. Karma doesn't need you to witness. It just needs you to keep walking. Protect your peace. Don't compete with someone who's trying to prove themselves to the world. You don't need to be better, happier, or more loved than them. You just need to be real with yourself. And one day, when they sit in silence, reflecting on all they've lost, they'll realize the person they let go of was someone no new version could ever replace. Sign number 2. Life quietly takes back what they once took for granted. When someone hurts you and walks away without apology, without remorse, you may think they'll never face the consequences. They keep living, smiling, unaffected. It seems like they got away with everything. But the truth is, karma is never in a hurry. It works in silence. If the first sign of karma is the forced smile plastered all over social media, then the second is deeper. It's when life begins to quietly reclaim the things they once dismissed, disrespected, or lost through carelessness. Karma is not punishment, it's balance. We often imagine karma as a thunderstorm, accidents, betrayal, collapse. But more often, karma operates differently with quiet withdrawal. At first, they don't notice. A few close friendships begin to fade. A job opportunity slips away. An invitation gets cancelled. A plan falls through. They call it bad luck, chalk it up to coincidence. They keep smiling, keep moving forward, but then those coincidences keep happening gradually. They realize they're standing in the delicate ruins that life created, not out of anger but by the natural law of reflection. What they once ignored is now leaving them. What they once undervalued is disappearing. Not because they're undeserving, but because they failed to appreciate it. They once dismissed sincerity. Now they long for it. Maybe they once scoffed at your late-night messages, laughed off your comfort when they were down, dismissed your patience, misunderstood your silent empathy. They labeled you as too sensitive, too much, overly emotional. But now, no one waits for their messages. No one listens to them without judgment. New connections come and go, because no one wants to be their emotional dumping ground. They didn't lose everything overnight, but piece by piece, your trust, others' friendship, the respect of people who once believed in them. That's how karma works, not by collapse, but by quietly removing one brick at a time. The loneliness comes from within, invisible but deeply felt. They may still party, stay busy, even date someone new, but when the night falls and everything is still, a quiet emptiness creeps in. Not from lack of people, but from lack of true connection. You were once the only one who saw them clearly, stayed anyway, loved them deeply, but they didn't realize that or weren't mature enough to value it. Now, they may be in someone's arms, but find themselves missing the one who once held them with kindness and faith. They may be laughing in a crowd, but hear a quiet question echo inside. Why doesn't anyone understand me like they did? Everything has a price, even indifference. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, when someone mistreats a good person, they don't just betray that person, they betray the good within themselves. That is the deepest loss. Karma doesn't punish them with outward suffering. It strips away the version of themselves they used to be when you were in their life, a softer, kinder version, capable of trust, love, and being loved sincerely. In return, even if they try to recreate that feeling with someone new, they can't go back. Because when you lose someone who truly cared, you also lose the part of yourself that knew how to cherish that kind of love. And you don't go back to mend what they chose to break. If you were once overlooked, hurt for giving too much, you don't need to return just to prove you're still good. You don't need to show them you understand them best. You're not here to fix them. You are the lesson life gave them, and if they fail to learn it, karma will take over you. Don't need to do anything. Just stay silent. Hold on to your worth. Stand tall in the quiet pride of someone who once loved deeply and is now learning to love themselves. In the end, the greatest loss wasn't you. It was their ability to be loved sincerely, patiently, and profoundly, the way you once did, and that's what karma takes first. Not through rage, but through absence. Without you, everything else is just a substitute, and they'll have to live with that truth quietly, in nights that seem peaceful, but leave their heart unrested. Sign number 3. You still live in their mind. You think they've forgotten you. That the one who hurt you, turned their back, and walked away without hesitation is now living happily, completely unfazed, never looking back. No texts, no apologies, no check-ins. It's as if you never existed. But the truth is quite the opposite. You're still very present in their mind, not through direct words, but through carefully crafted silences. Not in open conversations, but through vague status updates, half-meant quotes, cryptic captions that seem to speak to the world, but are really meant for you. They won't say your name, but every word carries your shadow. They'll never openly mention you. They're not that brave, but they'll keep posting suggestive phrases, emotionally charged statements like, "Not everyone deserves your energy. Some people only see your value once you're gone. I don't need anyone. I heal myself." At first glance, it seems like they're talking about themselves or someone generic. But if you once loved them, if you knew their language deeply, you'll know they're talking about you. They're circling around your memory, just without the courage to face it directly. Silent outside, loud inside. Karma doesn't always appear as tangible loss or dramatic downfall. Sometimes it starts with uncontrollable thoughts. They think they've moved on, but then a song plays, a photo pops up, an old message resurfaces, and suddenly their heart is pulled back into the past. They don't say it aloud, but they feel it deeply. You're still there in their mind, their heart, in quiet moments no one else sees. And that's what karma does, turns you into a lesson they can't forget. Not because you force yourself into their life, but because their own conscience calls your name every single day. They seek your attention but can't look you in the eye. They'll share stories, half true, half fiction. They'll talk about an ex, but with words only you can decode, because you once understood them better than anyone. You read their emotions through a glance. You heard their pain hiding behind a joke. Now you still see it all. Just from a distance, you recognize the inner struggle, the regret, the longing masked as confidence. And you realize you don't have to be present to still live rent-free in their mind. They talk to the world, but they're really talking to themselves. They post quotes, write long captions, share philosophical insights. They try to inspire, speak about lessons learned, becoming stronger. But the more they try to prove they've moved on, the clearer it becomes that they're still stuck. They might be telling their own story, but beneath it, it's still the story of you and them, just edited to avoid responsibility. They don't want others to know they were at fault. They don't want the world to see the insecurity eating away at them daily. So they write not to share, but to ease the guilt. You don't have to respond. Silence is the most powerful answer. The Stoic doesn't clap back. No need to post quotes, no need to like their vague updates, no need to defend or expose. Silence is the highest form of strength. Epictetus once said, if someone speaks ill of you, live in a way that no one believes it. You don't have to explain yourself, just live your truth, steady, grounded, peaceful. Because when you stay silent, they are left alone with the echoes of their own thoughts. And that's when karma speaks. Not with thunder, but with a whisper. You hurt someone who didn't deserve it. The truth is, you've moved on, but they never left the war within. They may be with someone new. They may be smiling, laughing, posting pictures of happiness. But if you're still the star of every ambiguous quote, still the face they try to erase with every new post, then you still occupy a place in their mind. Not because you cling to it, but because they can't let go of something they know was precious, but chose to lose. And that is karma's clearest sign. No punishment needed. Just let them live with the memory they once dismissed, quietly, in the kind of night that seems peaceful but never quite lets the heart rest. Sign number 4. They no longer trust others and no longer trust themselves. At first, after hurting you, they walked away as if nothing happened. No apology, no second glance, maybe even a laugh at your tears. It looked like they got away with everything. But the truth is, karma doesn't strike with thunder. It dissolves from the inside out. One of the clearest signs that karma is at work is when someone begins to lose faith in the world, and gradually, in themselves they start closing off, but not out of strength. At first they act more aware. They say they've learned to set boundaries, be selective, not trust too easily anymore. They wear the mask of someone mature, someone protecting their energy. But if you look closely, you'll see that's not healthy distance. It's disguised fear. They're not truly wise. They're scared. Scared of being treated the way they once treated you. Scared of being exposed, hurt, or outsmarted. And that fear breeds suspicion of everyone around them. They start believing everyone has hidden motives, that no one is genuine, that anyone who gets close must want something. But in truth, they don't distrust others. They distrust others because they know deep down that they themselves weren't trustworthy. When you've betrayed someone good, you start believing everyone is capable of doing the same. They once lied, manipulated emotions, used kindness for their own gain, then left when it no longer served them. Now, when someone truly cares, they flinch. Is this real? What are they hiding? They can no longer tell the difference between love and manipulation because they once blurred that line themselves. And the cruelest part, that doubt turns inward. They begin to question, am I a bad person? Can anyone ever truly love me? Do I even deserve trust or love? At first, they shrug these thoughts, often, but in the quiet moments they return. Loud, persistent, painful karma doesn't need to destroy, it only needs to plant the seed of doubt. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "He who has done evil cannot easily trust others, for he knows he is capable of evil himself." This is the essence of karma in motion. It doesn't have to make their world fall apart. It only has to do one thing, make them no longer recognize who they are. When you stop believing in the goodness of people, when you assume everyone will abandon or betray you, you've already locked yourself in a prison called self-protection. But that's not safety. That's isolation. They withdraw from connection, out of fear of truth. Some people used to be open. They trusted, loved, and lived wholeheartedly. But after betraying someone who truly loved them, they no longer allow themselves to be that. Vulnerable. Because betrayal doesn't just kill others' trust in you, it kills your own trust. In yourself, they look in the mirror and see a stranger. Someone who was once deeply loved but walked away. Someone who was once forgiven but kept hurting. Someone who once had everything and lost it by their own hand. Now, even when someone new comes along with pure intentions, they still think this person will leave too. Not because the new person is untrustworthy, but because they've never forgiven themselves. You don't need to come back to prove you're different. Seeing them closed off and broken, you might feel sympathy. You once wanted to protect them, heal them, but that's no longer your role. You gave you a chance. You loved with your whole heart, and they chose to hurt you instead of learning to love properly. Now, they must learn on their own. Their distrust is a silent confession. When someone no longer believes in others, can't open up, and struggles to connect deeply, it's not clarity. It's the clearest sign they've lost something vital, the purity of their own heart. Karma didn't hit them with storms. It simply turned laughter into anxiety, trust into fear, and made them become the very person they once judged. That is the deepest kind of karma, to lose yourself. Sign number 5, they meet someone just like themselves in life. There are lessons that can't be taught by books or given through advice. Some lessons only come when we're forced to experience the very things we once made others feel. And that is exactly what karma does best. It sends them a person, a situation, a relationship that reflects their true self. If they once toyed with your emotions, left you confused, drained, constantly questioning your worth, now they're living that same, the story just on the other side. They thought they had found the one. It usually starts with an intense connection. Someone new appears, magnetic, mysterious, alluring. They feel like they've finally met the right person. They think the universe is making up for the past. They believe this is their chance to begin again. Better, more beautiful, more right. But what they don't know is, this isn't a reward, it's a reflection. The person they just met, despite looking different on the outside, carries the exact same energy they once carried when they hurt you. That person is also emotionally unpredictable, cold, then warm again, distant, yet charming, skilled at making them feel guilty and then vanishing without a word, just like they once did to you. At first, they try to explain it away. They tell themselves they're just wounded. They don't mean it, they're complicated. They need time. But the more they try to understand, the deeper they fall into confusion. They begin waiting for messages that never come. They feel too sensitive every time they ask for attention. They get labeled clingy, just like they once labeled you. And then one quiet night, a terrifying thought slips into their mind. This is exactly what I once did to someone else. They don't say it out loud. They don't admit it. But deep down, they know they're now standing in the very spot you once stood. Karma doesn't punish, it reflects. Marcus Aurelius once said, the universe is not revengeful. It simply brings you back to yourself. Karma doesn't need to create an enemy. It simply creates another version of them, so they have to face the truth. And the truth is, they once ignored a sincere heart. They once turned their back on someone patient. They once treated love like it was replaceable. Now they're the one being treated as optional, no longer in control. Now the one waiting, doubting, hurting. Now the one feeling dismissed, forgotten, only half loved. And the person making them feel this way isn't evil. They're just them in a different body. You were the lesson. The other person is the mirror. You entered their life to teach them kindness, patience, and sincere love, but they rejected the lesson. They thought they could walk away without growing up, so life didn't send another lesson, it sent a mirror. And in that mirror, they now see the way they once manipulated, the way they used silence to control, the way they made someone feel like they were never enough. And now they are the one who feels not enough. There's no one left to blame when they hurt you. They could twist the truth. They could say you were too sensitive, you were too weak, we weren't a match. But now they can't do that anymore, because the other person isn't wrong. They're simply behaving the way your ex once did. There's no one to point fingers at, no one to shift responsibility onto just themselves and the choices they once made. You don't need to go back. The lesson has been delivered. Maybe you hear them talking about this new relationship. Maybe you see the pain in their eyes. Maybe part of you still aches because you still have a heart. But remember, you were not sent to heal them. You were the chance. They had to not lose something truly valuable. They didn't appreciate it. Now, karma has given them a new teacher, someone just like them, so they can feel the pain they once overlooked. Karma doesn't need you to witness it. It only needs them to feel it, and one day they will realize you were never too much. They were just not mature enough to receive you. Closing message: you don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything, because karma always knows who deserves what, and it arrives quietly. When no one is looking, your job isn't to look back, it's to rise, to grow, and to become the version of you they'll never be able to reach again. Let life handle fairness. You just keep becoming peace. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to prove anything, because karma always knows who deserves what, and it arrives quietly when no one is watching. Your job is not to look back, but to rise, to grow, and to become the version of yourself they will never be able to reach again. Let life handle justice, and you just keep becoming peace. If this message resonates with you, give the video a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Stoic Mind, where we heal not loudly, but powerfully.